This week's story is a little bit different because whilst I try to build a thought for the week based on a reflection from my own week, this one feels a lot more deeply personal. But at the same time, I'm telling the story of a young person who isn't me. And so as a result, I think it's only right that I don't share the name of that young person because ultimately part of this isn't my story to tell. And so to honor that and to honor him, I'm going not to use names throughout this thought for the week. But something you may not know about Grace and I is that as well as having full-time jobs and as well as planting a new vineyard church, we're also foster carers. And we've been doing this now for about 3.5 years. In that time, we've had a teenage girl who was 12 when she moved in and lived with us until she was nearly 16. We had an 8-year-old girl who lived with us for just under a year as well. And now we have a 6-year-old boy living with us who is just the sweetest little thing. He's so sweet. But he's with us during a time of uncertainty. In the 6 months that he's been here, he has been waiting for a forever family. He's been waiting for an adopter who will provide the long-term security of saying yes forever that he doesn't currently have from being in foster care. And that must be so difficult for any young person, for anybody, but particularly for a young person, because there's always those questions of who am I? Where do I belong? What does my future look like? And what happens next? And so this week has been a really momentous and life-changing moment for him when he met his forever family and he met his dad for the first time and found out exactly who this man is going to be in his life for the rest of his life. Someone looked specifically at this young man and chose him and said, "You're mine." That one, that is the young man that I want to have as part of my family forever. And when he was told, and ever since he's been told, he's been so excited. He's been bouncing up and down. They've gone on trips to the skate park and to the shops together as they start to get to know each other, as the next chapter of this young man's life starts to unfold. He's been grinning. He feels more secure in himself. He's been showing off. It's just been a real pleasure to watch this time unfold. And this is his forever family. We know that. That's really exciting. But I would be lying to you if amongst all this excitement, there isn't a feeling of defeat within Grace and I as well. The more excited that he feels and the more excitement he shows, the more defeated we feel at the same time. We love him. We would love him to stay as he's been for the last 6 months. He's been such a joy and a privilege to be part of our family for the last few months. We're going to miss him terribly when he goes. And we recognize that adoption is absolutely the best path for him. Having a forever family, having all the fun, having a new name, a passport with that name on it, a home that he can call his forever, somewhere he'll be able to go back in the university holidays if that's what he chooses, and that we know this is absolutely the best thing for him, and we don't question that. But maybe what's best for him doesn't always feel like it's what's best for us at the same time. But that feeling of defeat that we have is proof that it worked. That if we've loved him well enough, and he's ready to run into his future and to enjoy all of these things because we've helped in the chapter that he's been with us. We've helped to shape him and to build him up and to give him the confidence and the skills and the resilience to now go into the next chapter of his life that's going to last forever. But it's that word, isn't it? It's the word chosen. It's a thread that we see running throughout the entire Bible. People who are chosen by God. And God constantly chooses to pick people who you may not normally think are going to be the ones that are chosen. Take, for example, Abraham. Abraham was an old man. He had no children. He was in the wrong culture. Yet God chose him and used him. Moses, a murderer on the run, hiding in the desert. Yet still God chose him and used him. David, the youngest son. In fact, he wasn't even called in from the fields when the prophet came. Yet God chose him and God used him. Look at Peter in the New Testament. He was impulsive. He was unreliable. He denied Jesus at the most important moment 3 times. Yet still God chose him. He used him. He was absolutely critical in the starting of the early church. The pattern here is that it's not always, in fact, in the Bible, it's rarely the obvious candidate who gets chosen. And it's never because they've earned it. It's just God comes along and says, that one, that's the one. Romans 8 verse 15 says, you did not receive a spirit that makes you a slave again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption. And by him we cry, Abba, Father. Abba is a child's word. It's not formal, it's not distant, but it's an intimate, safe word that's used. It's the word you use when you know that you belong and that that person isn't going anywhere. It's the opposite of uncertainty. It's the opposite of being in between. But what's really important, the claim, is that this spirit of adoption, this feeling of certainty, this knowing that you've got a family forever, is available to everyone. It's available to me. It's available to you. Regardless of your history, your complexity, your mess, everything that you've got going on that you think discounts you from God choosing you is wiped away. You are looked at, specifically you, and you are chosen by God. And what is fostering at its core? If we look at what fostering is, it's a bridge. Most of the time, it's a bridging placement. It's holding somebody where they're in this moment of being in between where they were and where they're going. It's a place where you get to build people up, where you get to teach them skills, strengthen them, restore them, show them love. And then you get to build them up and pass them into their next chapter as well. Full of love, full of compassion, without any condition for anything that they've experienced or for anything that they do. For a season, you're there creating the conditions for somebody to be ready for whatever it is that comes next. And as we're building a new church here in Buckingham, isn't that exactly what the church should be? Not you have to have it all together to be able to walk in, because if we waited until we were perfect before we even walked into a church, the churches would be empty, because none of us, it's only happened once in history, and that was by Jesus himself. It hasn't happened again, so we can't wait for that moment. We don't wait for people to be assessed, evaluated, to prove that they're worthy of being in the building. But yes, you are chosen and you are welcome to come in the middle of uncertainty, to come when you're least sure, when you don't know whether you should be here, whether you don't know whether you belong in the room. That's the moment that God calls you to come to him and to come to church. To, yes, be held while you work out who you are and what's going on. That's exactly what a church should be there for. To, yes, to hear maybe for the first time. And I don't know, for you, maybe today is the first time that you've heard it as well, that you have been chosen individually, not just as a blanket, everybody's chosen. This is about you being intimately chosen by your Creator, exactly as you are, with all the mess, all the stuff that comes with you, all the baggage, all the stuff that you wish you didn't have. And God says, bring it with you, but you are still chosen. That's what I want Buckingham Vineyard to be. A place where people encounter the God who looks at nobody else, who wouldn't have picked anybody else but you, and says, you're mine, you're chosen. I don't know your life position right now, but maybe you're feeling like you're in a bit of an in-between time. Like you're in this bridging time where you just need building up, where you need to just take time to strengthen and to gather skills. Maybe you're in a part of your life where you don't feel that you've ever been chosen. Let me tell you again, right now, you are chosen. Specifically you, by name. You haven't earned it, you haven't had to earn it, but you are chosen. I've seen this week what that word can do to a little guy, and it's absolutely changed who he is. And I think that could be the same for any of us today.